足夠開會嘅法定人數。
Members, we have a quorum. We've reached the appointed hour. The meeting is now called to order. Welcome to members attending the PWSC this morning and the 2013-14 session. As at the end of last meeting, we've approved 17 items totaling $38.665 billion, among which under capital works, total allocation $34.8556 million. Together with 5 items, the 5 items which have not been considered on the 21st of May 2014, we have altogether 10 discussion items. 9 papers or items are related to upgrading to Category A, and the other is to raise the approved ceiling for one Category A item, and the total amount is $29.911 billion. If all the applications approved, there will be, or there are 27 approved items, totaling $68.576 billion, among which $64.757 billion are for capital works items. In the remaining meetings, without counting the present 10 items today, there are still 19 items for the PWSC for consideration, and the amount involved will be $15.82 billion. With regard to declaration of interest of members of any direct or indirect pecuniary interest to the items, in respect of the items to be discussed today, members have to declare interest before they speak under ROP 83A. And also draw members' attention to ROP 84 with regard to casting votes under the condition of direct pecuniary interest. We now move on. We now continue. Now, concerning the numbers you mentioned, I find that they are very important. Can you give us a written document in this regard? We have discussed the public works items. The total allocation will be in the range of $170 billion. That they have created pressure on the construction industry. So will the administration provide such numbers and address our concerns, in particular the total impact of public works projects? How do they compare with the situation last year, and how do they impact on the total increase in construction costs? Yes, the numbers can be provided in the speaking notes. And also the information will be provided by the administration after the meeting concerning the numbers Mr. Chen asked for. As for PWSC number 7 of the year 2014-15 177DR, Development of Integrated Waste Management Facilities Phase 1. The subcommittee on the 7th of May completed the discussion of this paper, i.e. PWSC 2014-15 number 7. Today, we will move on to deal with the various motions moved by members. To attend today's meeting, we have the government officials, and their name list has been put before members. I'm not going to read out their names. I understand that members asked me to make a written supplement in respect of my decision on Rule 32A of the PWSC procedures. I've already issued the paper PWSC 82/1314 to explain the factors and principles I have taken into account when I made the decision. And I do not intend to discuss the matter again with members according to Rule 27 of the PWSC procedures. In a decision in terms of procedure by the chairman is final. If members have any views, I welcome any discussion outside the meeting. Ms. Gary Fan. Chairman, a point of order. This is not a discussion. I want to ask the legal advisor to clarify this point. Clarify what? Now, you rejected my 26 motions. In your letter, you said that ROP 57.4 was the basis of your decision. I asked the legal advisor for an explanation. Now, your written reply didn't mention that you made reference to the decision para 36 or para 16 by the President, Mr. Zhang Yuxing. Instead, you made reference to other sections. But last time our discussion was section 13 and 16. As for Mr. Zhang's decision, he quoted Basic Law 72, Article 72. Article 72 says very clearly that the President has the power to exercise the following, including chairing the meeting. According to Mr. Lo Wai Kwok, is he just moving the goalposts, or has he just parroted the chairman? Is he just extending the president's power to the PWSC and other subcommittees? Can he apply that? I have query about it. The legal advisor. I've already said that according my decision on the rules of procedure or point of order is the final one. I have already given you a written reply. If you have any views, I welcome you discussing that outside the meeting with me. In fact, at the last meeting, the legal advisor had already given the answer. Even if I give some time to the legal advisor, he will just be speaking himself. But I would like to give the question, give some time to Mr. Ma. Mr. Ma, I will allow Mr. Ma to answer the question, but I will not allow further discussion. Chairman, I did not have the letter in front of me. I do not have the letter in front of me. The chairman rejected my 26 amendments. The chairman's written reply was different from what he said at the meeting. Now, since you you have the written reply, let me explain. I do not allow further discussion on my ruling. If the legal advisor give me a minute.
就住主席或者趁我哋揾緊個。
While we are looking for the letter, as for the extension of the power, in the final letter to Mr. Fan and to members, which was copied to members, the chairman of the subcommittee is of the view that the president of the council and chairman of the committees have the power to maintain order of the meeting. Do you refer to the letter on the 21st? Now, you rejected my 60 motions. You said you claim you exercise the power of 57.4, but in your reply, you didn't refer to 13 and 16, but 14 and 17. Now, I cannot allow you to speak on this again and again. There should be no further discussion. Chairman, I was about to speak on this. The duty of the President in chairing the meeting, and in relation to the chairing of meeting by other chairmen of the panels and subcommittees, the nature is the same. As for the FC, the duty of the chairman of the FC in chairing the meeting is also realized in or implemented, and there are certain papers issued to members. If members may refer to FC 51, which was issued by in the year 2009 and 10, and I think that has been repeated on other occasions in respect of the duties of the chairman. If I may briefly mention that the chairman of the FC has the following duty. It is based on the rules of procedure of the council and also procedure of the FC in chairing the meeting. Although there is no prescribed provision, no written provision, the chairman should ensure that the matter is dealt with effectively, and to ensure that members have ample opportunity to participate in the discussion of the committee. And then the paper then quotes the manual for chairman of committees and vice committee. That's very good. Mr. Ma. Mr. Fan. Now that is ROP 92. What is in front of us is, apart from Article 72 of the Basic Law, in respect of other motions that deals with the ROP that is related to 32A. Mr. Fan, let me stress once again, I have to stop you from speaking on this item. I've already said that this is the ruling of the chairman and the ruling is final. If there is further view on that, I welcome discussing that outside the meeting. Now, your decision affects the progress of the meeting, and the legal advisor is giving a different interpretation to your decision. We need to confirm the legal point first. Even if you want to hold a special meeting, I can have that all the way to 12 midnight. If it's a point of order, then we want to clarify this. Now, you are the chairman. You have already made the final decision, and the decision is final. If there is any question, it should be dealt with outside the meeting. The discussion should not stand in the way of the items to be discussed. You need to make a decision. The decision is final. This is very simple. Mr. Albert Chen should know that. Is it a point of order? I just want to speak on facts. Yesterday morning, the FC, the PWSC, and the EAC chairman, 6 of us, had a meeting because I called for this meeting. The 6 chairmen, together with the staff of the Secretariat, were present. I can foresee many such problems, and I have looked at your reply to Mr. Fan, and I don't think that is adequate. I asked the Secretariat to provide a detailed paper how to interpret the Article 72 of the Basic Law on the power of the President of the Council, and also how you deal with the series and then reject the emotions. How that was different from previous practice. Tomorrow there will be another meeting by Ms. Ng, by Mrs. Yip, and then the day after tomorrow there will be a meeting chaired by Mr. Ng. In fact, we can discuss the ruling outside this meeting. Yesterday, we discussed on similar rules with regard to the meeting of the Finance Committee. I've already replied to Mr. Fan, and we have nothing more to add. But yet, just now, the legal advisor has given some supplement. I think my reply is adequate, but I don't think your reply is adequate. If you think your reply is not adequate, my reply is not adequate, you are entitled to your own opinion. I don't think we need to discuss my ruling. Point of order. Now you will exercise the same power again to deal with motion of other motions. Mr. Fan, if I don't allow you to speak, then you are not allowed to speak. Otherwise, I will ask you to go out. I'll ask you to leave this meeting. Please respect the chair. I have already said that I welcome further discussion outside the meeting, but we need to proceed. Since the last meeting, I have received 14 amendments by Mr. Pt1. Some of them are repetitions. Mr. Chan's agreed to withdraw one item. And yesterday, I also received another 46 motions and also 8 motions by Mr. Fan. So altogether, we have received 67 motions. And this morning, we have received another 9 motions by Mr. Fan without prior notice. Let me add that we have 76 motions in deciding whether I will accept members' motion under 32A. I have to respect the power and rights of members. I also make sure that the meeting will proceed in an orderly manner and effectively. At the present stage, I allow members to move the motions under 32A. As at last evening, there were 67 motions. I believe they are directly related to the agenda. As for the 9 motions I received from Mr. Fan, the Secretariat is now assisting me in scrutinizing the motions. We have 67 motions in front of members. If I am of the view that the moving of the motions for taking up the time of the subcommittee and are not directly related to the functions and duties of this subcommittee, or the motions are just to prevent the PWSC from exercising its duties or discharging its duties and exercising its powers, then I will have to make sure that the meeting is to be conducted in an orderly, fair, and proper manner. I now urge members to complete the procedures for expressing your views under Section 32A. After I have dealt with the 67 motions by Mr. Fan and Mr. Chen and the subsequent 9, if they have to be dealt with, then I hope that
as regards Paper 7 of PWSC in relation to the upgrading of the project to Cat A, we have to take a vote. I think this is the appropriate arrangement. Now let's handle motion 0001 as shown on the screen. This is moved by Mr. Albert Chan. I'll put the question to the vote. This committee agrees to, in accordance with procedure 32A, handle motion 0001. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Albert Chan, the division bell will ring for 1 minute. This committee requests the administration to start stage 1 civil engineering and foundation works, mandatorily formulate a timetable to indicate that the government is willing to segregate wastes in order to reduce the amount of waste disposed.
As the division bell is ringing, I'd like to say that in the public gallery we have some students sitting in at this meeting. Welcome all of you.
多謝各位呢。
Well, thank you very much for your support. The chairman has properly discharged his duty. Please cast your votes. Before I announce the results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 19 present, 6 for, 12 against, no abstention. I declare the motion negatived. Yes, sorry. I ask that the division will be run for 1 minute for the ensuing motions. Mr. Ipcot him now moves the motion that the division bell will ring for 1 minute from now on for the ensuing motions. Any objection? No? If there's no question, we'll take a vote. Mr. Ipcot him, in accordance with 40A of the PWSC procedure, ask that if a division is claimed in the following part of this agenda item, the division bell will ring for 1 minute before voting begins. Those in favor, please raise their hands. All right, the division bell will ring for 5 minutes.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Before I announce the results, members, please check your votes. The question is the division bell will ring for 1 minute. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 19 present, 16 for, 2 against, no abstention. The majority of the members present are in support of the question. So the question is passed. That is, from now on, if a division is claimed, the division bell will ring for 1 minute. Let us now handle motion 0002 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. The question now is that in accordance with procedure 32A, this committee will handle motion 0002. Mr. Albert Chan, I claim a division, Chairman. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Please read out the motion. In accordance with Rule 32A of the PWSC procedure, I move that the average per capita waste disposal volume should be reduced to the standard similar to South Korea and Taiwan to indicate the government's determination to reduce the amount of wastes dumped. You only need to read out your motion. You don't need to explain your motion. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 19 present, 5 for, 13 against, no abstention. I think the majority of the members present oppose the motion, so the motion is negatived. We're now on motion 0003. In accordance with procedure 32A, this committee agrees to handle motion 003 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. This motion is to ask the PWSC to formulate measures to ensure the living environment of the Chinese white dolphins will not be affected by the reclamation works of this project. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 19 present, 5 for, 13 against, no abstention. I think the majority of the members voting oppose the motion. The motion is negatived. For motion 0004, this committee agrees that this committee should handle motion 0004 moved by Mr. Albert Chan in accordance with procedure 32A. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. The fourth motion is to ask the committee requests the administration to ensure that contractors will not employ imported labor for design and construction works such that public money can be properly used and that local job opportunities can be increased. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 18 present, 5 for, 12 against, no abstention. I think the question is not agreed by a majority of the members voting. The question is negatived. Motion 0005. This committee agrees to handle motion 0005 moved by Mr. Albert Chan according to procedure 32A. Chairman, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. This motion requests the administration not to beyond the waters of South Lantau carry out dredging for reclamation purpose to ensure that the waters beyond South Lantau will not further deteriorate as a result of the reclamation works.
Voting begins. Before I announce the voting results, remember please check your votes. Voting is closed. Results are displayed. 19 present, 4 for, 14 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by the majority of members who have voted. So I declare the motion negative. Number 6 has been withdrawn. Number 7, this committee agrees to handle the motion number 7 proposed by Mr. Albert Chan in accordance with Rule 32A. Claims of division right. 1 minute. Chairman. About this motion, this committee urges the administration to adopt measures to ensure that Phase 1 of the Integrated Waste Management Facilities project will not have cost overruns. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 20 present, 4 for, 15 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of the members who have voted. The question is negatived. Motion number 8. This committee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion in accordance with Rule 32A of the Rules of Procedure. Would those in favor please raise your hands? Claims of division, 1 minute. Chairman, this motion is about, it's as follows. This committee urges the administration to formulate policies to reduce food waste disposal by half before commencing Phase 1 of the Integrated Waste Management Facilities project, to lower the waste disposal volume of the facilities and to lower the emission level. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 20 present, for, 15 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by the majority of members voted. The question is negatived. Next, 0009. This committee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 9, moved under 32A of the rules of this committee. Claims the division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, as this project will generate emissions and affect air quality in the vicinity, this subcommittee urges the administration to stop emissions from the IWMF when the prevailing wind is a southerly or westerly wind, to ensure that the facilities will not cause a deterioration of the air quality in the Hong Kong Island and New Territories West. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes. Voting is closed. Result is displayed. 19 present, 4 for, 14 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by members present. The motion is negatived. Then 0010. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion moved under Rule 32A. Would those in favour please raise your hands? Would those in favour please raise your hands? Mr. Gary Fan claims the division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, about this motion, as the project will cause a drastic deterioration of the living environment of Cheung Chau and Lantau South, this subcommittee urges the administration to first consult residents of Cheung Chau and Lantau South before commencing the foundation works for phase 1 of the project. Only when a majority support is given can the works be commenced. All right, time's up. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 present, 4 for, 12 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members present. The motion is negatived. Motion 1111. Motion number 11. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 11 moved under Rule 32A of this subcommittee. Would those in favour please raise your hand? Mr. Gary Fan. Chairman, I claim the division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, about this motion, as the project will generate more than 4,900 tons of non-inert construction waste, and the administration will be disposing of such waste at the landfill. This subcommittee urges the administration to recycle all the non-inert construction waste generated by the development of IWMF Phase 1 to show the administration's determination in reducing the volume of construction waste.
好，現在
Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 19 present, for, 14 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by majority of the members present. So, motion negatived. Motion number 12, this subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 12, moved under 32A of the rules of this subcommittee. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division, Chairman. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, about this motion, as a large-scale reclamation is involved in this project, this subcommittee urges the administration to specify in the tender document the use of construction waste as fill material and to specify that the sea sand within the Hong Kong waters should not be used as the fill material. Mr. Albert Chan, please refrain from speaking from your seat. Is already sufficient for you to read out the motion. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 18 present, for, 13 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by the majority of members voted. The motion is negatived. Motion 0013. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 13, moved under Rule 32A of this subcommittee. Will those in favour please raise your hands? Mr. Gary Fan, Chairman, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, please read it out. This subcommittee urges the administration, as judicial review is still underway in relation to this project, this subcommittee urges the administration to, before the end of the litigation, start any tendering process on the development of IWMF Phase 1 to ensure the public monies can be used properly. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 18 present, for, 13 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by the majority of members voted. I declare the motion negatived. Motion 0014. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 14, moved under Rule 32A. Will those in favour please raise your hands? Mr. Gary Fan, Chairman, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, about this motion, I move that as the waters off Shek Kwu Chau has the habitat of Finnish porpoise, is the primary habitat for Finnish porpoise, and yet the administration in the funding application papers for development of IWMF Phase 1 have not specified the impact on the Finnish porpoise. This subcommittee urges the administration to commission an independent consultant to assess the impact of the project on porpoise to ensure that the Finnish porpoise will not be threatened by the project. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 18 present, for, 13 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by majority of members voted. This motion is negatived. Motion number 15. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 15, moved under Rule 32A. Mr. Gary Fan, Chairman, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, about this motion, as thermal treatment will be given to handle a large volume of waste, this subcommittee urges the administration to formulate policies to prevent the IWMF from handling waste containing mercury, to ensure that in the course of incinerating waste with mercury, toxic gas will be generated and the public's health will be affected. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 16 present, for, 11 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by the majority of members voted. This motion is negatived. Motion number 16. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 16, moved under Rule 32A. Would those in favour please raise your hand? Mr. Gary Fan, Chairman, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, about this motion, I move that after the completion of the IWMF Phase 1 facilities, the incineration of waste would take place. This subcommittee urges the administration to, before commencing the foundation works, formulate policies to prevent the IWMF from treating canisters of compressed air, including canned pesticides, to ensure that in the course of incinerating such waste, explosion will not occur, causing damage to the facilities. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, will members please check your votes? Voting is closed. Result is displayed. 17 present, for, 13 against, none abstained. I declare the motion negatived. Motion 0017. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 17, moved under Rule 32A. Will those in favour please raise your hand? Mr. Gary Fan, you claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Please read it out, Mr. Albert Chan. Chairman, I move that as the IWMF Phase 1 is close to Shakuchao, surrounded by waters, and the administration will have to rely on large vessels to transport a large amount of waste to the facilities. This subcommittee urges the administration to, before starting the foundation works, formulate policies to ensure that the vessels passing by will not emit toxic gases, and to ensure that the air quality on the outlying islands will not deteriorate drastically because of such vessels traveling by. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. Result is displayed. 17 present, 4 for, 12 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members voted. This motion is negative. 0018. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 18, moved under Rule 32A. Will those in favour please raise your hand? Mr. Gary Fan claims a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, about this motion, as the facilities is situated in Shekou Chao, surrounded by waters, and that vessels are required to transport a large amount of waste to the facilities. There might be pollution in the waters. The subcommittee therefore urges the administration, before commencing the foundation works, to formulate policies to ensure that waste transporting vessels can properly unload waste, and to ensure that the water quality in the vicinity will not be severely affected because of improper unloading of waste.
Voting begins. Before I declare the results, please check your votes. Yes, voting is closed. The result is displayed. 18 present, 4 against, 13, 4 for, 13 against. The majority of members are against the motion. The motion is negative. Number 0019, the subcommittee agrees to deal with 0019, moved by Mr. Chen. Yes, I ask for a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Thank you, Chairman. The motion is in view of the fact that the 3 landfills are nearly at capacity. Phase 1 of the IWMF will be used to deal with waste. This subcommittee asked the administration in conducting the construction should make use of recycled steel, aluminium, glass generated in Hong Kong so as to reduce waste. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 members present for 12 against. The majority of members are against the motion. The motion is negatived. Item 0020. This subcommittee agrees to deal with Mr. Albert Chan's number 20 motion. Under Rule 32A. Those in favour, please raise hands. I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Please read out your motion. Chairman, the motion is that the application for Phase 1 of the project is now being considered. Among the application, $1.171 million will be used to purchase the waste heat turbine system. This subcommittee asks the administration to require the bidders to have experience in dealing with waste heat turbine operation so as to ensure the normal operation of the facility. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Okay. Voting is closed. Result is displayed. 18 members present, 4 for, 13 against. The question is not agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion negatived. The next motion is number 21. The subcommittee agreed to This deal with the motion moved by Mr. Pt1, number 21. Yes, Mr. Fan claims the division. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, in view of the budget overruns of many large-scale public works projects, the contractor and the administration have always had arguments over who should be responsible for budget overruns. This subcommittee urged the administration before conducting the the tendering exercise of first phase of the IWMF should clarify the duties and responsibilities under the DBO contract so that the administration will not be responsible for budget overrun. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 members present, 4 for, 12 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by members. A majority of members who voted. The motion is negatived. Number 22. It should be number 22, right? This subcommittee agrees to deal with number 22 motion moved by Mr. Albert Chen under RO Rules 32A. Those in favor, please raise hands. I claim for the division. I claim division. Yes, the bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, please read out your motion. In view of this project, will spend $932 million on waste incineration facility. This subcommittee urges the administration in conducting such a tendering exercise will require the bidders to have experience in building waste incinerators to make sure that there will the award winner will have the experience of constructing normal waste incineration facility. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 18 members present, 4 for, 13 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by majority of members voted. The motion is negatived. Item 23. We agree to deal with item 23 moved by Mr. Chen. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Mr. Fan claims a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, please read out the motion. I move that in view of the fact that the Phase 1 IWMF will have a budget as high as $18.245 billion. This subcommittee urges the administration in considering tendering for the IWMF should break up the project into different contracts so that more companies will get different contracts so that there will not be a single contractor to monopolize phase 1 of the project so as to minimize the risk of incurred by the government. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 19 members present, 4 for, 14 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by majority of members who voted. The motion is negatived. Item 24. This subcommittee agrees to deal with item number 24, motion item number 24, moved by Mr. Chen under Rule 32A. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Garifan claims division. Chairman, I move that in the past few years, the administration in conducting tender exercise, the price factor has been given a higher weight, so that experienced contractors of poor experience and poor performance were given a contract without. Were given the contract. As a result, there were delays and administrations incurred serious losses. In view of the cost of the facility is $18.245 billion, this subcommittee urged the administration in assessing the bids should not just pay attention to price, but also pay attention to experience and past performance and give them equal weight. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check the vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 members present, 4 12 against, abstention. The majority is against the motion. The motion is negatived. Item 22, motion 25. This subcommittee agrees to deal with motion 22 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Gary Fan claims the division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, I move that in view of the funding is as high as $18.2 billion for the IWMF. It is very technical and the procedures are complicated, and it has to be completed within 2 years. In view of rising construction costs and shortage of manpower, the administration should not limit the tendering exercise within 2 years and should flexibly deal with the situation according to the market situation, so that the administration will not have to bear extra costs because of the limit on the tendering period. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check the vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 members present, 4 for, 12 against, or abstention. The majority is against the motion. The motion is negatived. Item motion 26. This subcommittee agrees to deal with motion 26 moved by Ms. Albert Chan under 32A. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Chairman acclaims the division. The bell ring for 1 minute. Please read the motion. Chairman, I move that in view of the fact that the project has a budget of $18.2 billion and the technical complexity of the project and community interest involved, this subcommittee urged the administration should form a vetting committee comprising members of LegCo, of this council, representative of the islands and relevant government officials to assess the bids in a fair, open and just manner to make sure that it is cost effective and the contractor will be responsible to or accountable to the public. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check the vote. Voting is closed. Please check your vote. 15 members present, 4 for, 10 against, or abstention. The majority is against. The motion is negatived. Motion 27. This subcommittee agrees to deal with the motion moved by Ms. Albert Chan under Rule 32A. Those in favor, please raise their hand. Please claim a division. The bell ring for 1 minute. Please read out your motion. Mr. Chairman, the motion says in view of the fact that the appearance of the facility will affect the islands and also the international image. The subcommittee asked for an international competition for the outer design of the facility so as to choose the best design. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 members present, 4 for, 12 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by majority. The motion is negatived. Motion number 28. We agree to deal with motion moved by Mr. Albert Chan, number 28. Those in favor, please raise your hands. The bell ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, yes, please. I move that in view of the fact that the appearance of the facility will affect the visual image of the outlying islands and also our international image, we urge that the administration should form a design liaison working group comprising members of contractor, the officials, outlying island representative, and electrical members and professionals to choose the IWMF that is good looking and with special community characteristics.
現在開始表決。喺我宣布表決結果之前，請委員核對所作嘅表決。現在停止表決，顯示點票結果。
The result is displayed. 18 present, 4 for, 13 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by majority. The motion is negative. We now deal with item 29, or motion 29 rather. This subcommittee agrees to deal with motion 29 under Rule 32A by Mr. Albert Chan. The bell ring for 1 minute. Chairman, the motion is in view of the design DBO contract has not been effective in managing projects, and the administration has agreed that the administration is considering dealing with the IWMF by a DBO contract. Members of the public are therefore concerned about budget overrun. This subcommittee urged the administration to stop using the DBO approach for constructing phase 1 of the IWMF. The IWMF should be directly operated by the administration to make sure the public funds are used effectively. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check the vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 members present, 4 for, 12 against. The question is not agreed by majority of the members voted. The motion is negative. Motion number 30. Yes, this subcommittee agrees to deal with motion number 30, moved by Ms. Albert Chan under Rule 32A. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Chairman, I claim the division. The bell ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, this subcommittee urged the administration to regularly consult the Islands District Council to ensure that our design of this facility is in line with the wish of the public.
現在開始表決。喺我宣布表決結果之前呢，請委
Voting is closed. Please check your vote. The result is displayed. 18 members present, 4 for, 13 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by a majority of members voted. I declare the motion negatived. Motion 31. This subcommittee agrees to deal with motion number 31 moved by Ms. Albert Chan under Rule 32A. Those in favour, please raise their hands. Chairman, I claim for a division. Bell ring for 1 minute. Ms. Albert Chan, please read out your motion. Mr. Chairman, in view of the huge public funds involved in this project, the subcommittee urged the administration in each LegCo session report to the environmental affairs panel on the progress, and so that the council can monitor the progress of the project, so that the delay like the express rail will not occur.
Voting begins. Before I declare the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Display voting results. 18 present, 4 for, 13 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members are not in favor of the motion. The motion is negatived. We now proceed to vote on whether or not we should handle motion 32 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chan, please read out the motion. Mr. Chairman, as the project involves a great deal of public money and the administration plans to grant a design, build and operate contract which may result in one single contractor, this committee requests the administration to select those companies with a healthy financial position and have not experienced any financial crisis and own a huge sum of cash to be responsible for stage 1 of this comprehensive waste disposal facility, management facility, to ensure that the design, build and operation contract will not result in a company closed. Voting begins. Before I declare the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. The voting results will be displayed. 16 present, 4 for, 11 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the motion. The motion is negative. Now the question is whether this committee agrees to handle motion 33 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Albert Chan, please read out your motion. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I move the following motion. As the project involves huge sums of public money and the administration plans to grant a design, build and operate contract, the awardee company, apart from designing and constructing the facility, should also possess operational facilities. This committee requests the administration to select in developed sites companies who have good operating experience in incinerators for stage 1 to ensure that the facility is properly managed and operated. Voting begins. Before I declare the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 17 present, 4 for, 12 against, no abstention. the majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is to decide whether or not this committee should handle motion 34 of Mr. Albert Chan. Chairman, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Please read out your motion. Mr. Chairman, as this facility is to generate 480 million units of residual electricity, this committee requests the administration to, upon the commissioning of the facility, allow Changchao residents to enjoy concessionary tariffs in enjoying the residual electricity from the facility so as to compensate the losses suffered by Changchao residents in relation to the facility. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 16 present, for, 11 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is whether this committee should handle motion 35, moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, please raise their hands. I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Albert Chan, please read out your motion. Mr. Chairman, as this project involves an area of 16 hectares of reclaimed land, which may have adverse impact on the water quality of the neighboring waters. This committee requests that the administration, before starting the civil engineering and foundation works of the project, set up a water quality monitoring group formed by green groups, environmental protectionist experts, fishery organizations, members of the public, and the EPD to monitor the water quality of the waters in the vicinity of the project. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 16 present, for, 11 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is that this committee agrees to handle motion 36, moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, please raise their hands. I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Please read out the motion. Mr. Chairman, in the vicinity of Shek Hu Chao, there's a great deal of coral reefs providing food and habitats for finless porpoises. In that body of waters, there are a lot of rock strata providing good living environment for the finless porpoises. This committee requests that the administration, before starting the civil engineering and foundation works, first identify suitable waters for the finless porpoises such that these finless porpoises can live normally in Hong Kong waters before starting the relevant works. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 16 present, for, 11 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is that this committee agrees to handle motion 37, moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, the Shek Hu Chao waters are the major area of activities and habitats for finless porpoises. The administration plans to set up a marine park to replace the body of waters beyond Shek Wu Chau as the main habitats for the finless porpoises. However, it is not proved whether or not these finless porpoises can adapt to the living environment of the marine park. So this committee requests the administration to provide evidence for this living environment for the finless porpoises in the marine park and set up the marine park first before starting stage 1 of the project. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 15 present, 4 for, 10 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is that the committee handles motion 38 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, the motion is, as the project involves dredging and reclamation, given our experience in the past for dredging and reclamation, the seawater may be seriously polluted as a result, thus affecting the water quality for the ensuing few years, seriously affecting the living environment of the finless porpoises. This committee requests the administration to start and set up a regular water quality monitoring and testing mechanism before starting the project, such that when the pollution level reaches a particular level, dredging and reclamation will stop. Voting is now closed. Before I declare the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 15 present, 4 for, 10 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is whether or not the committee agrees to handle motion 39 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, my motion is, as after the commissioning of the facility, different types of vessels will ply towards the Shek Wu Chau waters, leading to a busier water channel, creating nuisance to the living environment of the finless porpoises. This committee requests the administration to set up a protection zone for finless porpoises outside Shek Wu Chau artificial island before starting stage 1 of the facility. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your vote. Please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 17 present, 4 for, 12 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not support the question. The question is negatived. The next question is that this committee handles motion 40 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Chairman, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, my motion is, as the project involves dredging and reclamation, and the works period will be more than 6 years, thus leading to polluted sea water and affecting the water quality in the ensuing few years. This committee requests the administration to reasonably compensate the mariculturists in the Pt1 and Pt2 areas before starting the works. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 16 present, 3 for, 12 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is that this committee agrees to handle motion 41 moved by Mr. Albert Chan under procedure 32A. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, my motion is, as the project involves 31 hectares of fishing area and 16 hectares of spawning and nursery zones, and are offshore fishing zones for South Lantau fishermen. The fishermen may permanently lose the body of waters for fishing. So this committee requests the administration to, before starting the civil engineering and foundation works, reasonably compensate the offshore fishermen of South Lantau before starting the works. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 16 present, 3 for, 12 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. Is it 42 or 43 now? It should be 42. The question is that this committee agrees to handle motion 42 moved by Mr. Albert Chan. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, my motion is, as this facility is very near to the drug treatment facility on Pt2, and the administration has not assessed in detail the operation of the incinerating facility and its impact on the drug treatment center. Therefore, the committee requests the administration to commission independent consultants to assess the impact of the incinerating facility on the drug treatment facility to ensure that the facility will not cause the air quality near the facility, drug treatment facility, to deteriorate before starting the works. Voting is now closed. Before I declare the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 16 present, 3 for, 12 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is this committee agrees to handle motion 43 moved by Mr. Albert Chan under procedure 32A. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. Mr. Chairman, I'll continue. My motion is Mr. Gary Fan's motion, not Mr. Albert Chan's. I made it wrong just now. Mr. Chairman, my motion is, the question now is that the committee handles motion 43 of Mr. Gary Fan. I claim a division. The division bell will ring for 1 minute. My motion is to urge the administration to set up a dedicated waste paper recovery facility such that waste paper be properly recovered and reused in Hong Kong to reduce the need for incineration for the handling of waste paper before building the incinerator. Before I declare the voting results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 16 present, 3 for, 12 against, no abstention. The majority of the voting members do not agree to the question. The question is negatived. The next question is, this committee agrees to handle motion 44, moved by Mr. Gary Fan under Procedure 32A. Those in favor, please raise their hands. I claim a division.
In accordance with Rule 32A of the rules for the subcommittee, I move that this subcommittee urges the administration to follow countries which have waste charging schemes to reduce the number of rubbish bins in the streets of Hong Kong by half, to produce an incentive, to lower the incentive for creating waste before building the incinerator. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 17 present, 3 for, 13 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by majority of members voted. This motion is negatived. 0045. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Gary Fan's motion, number 5, moved under Rule 32A. With those in favor, please raise your hand. Chairman, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. In accordance with Rule 32A of the subcommittee, I move that the administration is urged to provide better support for a food bank to substantially lower food from becoming food waste and to lower the volume of waste to be treated in the incinerator locally before building the incinerator. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 18 present, 4 for, 13 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members voted. This motion, this question is negatived. 0046. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Gary Fan's motion 46, moved under 32A. I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Now, in accordance with Rule 37A of the Finance Committee, I move that to lower the incinerator's chance of handling local food waste, this subcommittee urges the administration to step up collection of food waste and to have collection points all over Hong Kong to lower the chance of incinerator handling local food waste before building the incinerator.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, members, please check your votes. Voting is closed. Voting result displayed. 18 present, 4, 13 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members voted. The motion is negatived. 0047. Sorry, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. In accordance with Rule 37A of the Finance Committee, I move that the administration is urged to cap the volume of waste generated by government departments, to request government departments to reduce waste and to take the lead for business sector before building the incinerator. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes. Voting is closed. Dr. Fernando Chang, have you voted? Voting result displayed. 17 present, 4, 12 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members voted. The motion is negatived. Motion 48. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Gary Fan's motion 48, moved in accordance with Rule 32A. I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. In accordance with Rule 37A of the Finance Committee, I move and urge the administration to follow other countries with waste charging schemes to legislate to disincentivize citizens to use less disposable utensils. For example, restaurants should not allow patrons to use disposable utensils before building the incinerator. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. Result is displayed. 15 present, 4, 10 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members voted. The motion is negatived. Motion 49. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Gary Fan's motion, moved under 32A. Would those in favor please raise your hand? Mr. Gary Fan. Chairman, I claim a division. Will ring for 1 minute. In accordance with Rule 37A of the Finance Committee, I move and urge the administration to formulate various measures to ensure that the white dolphins living in the waters near Chekucha will not be affected by the works before building the incinerator. I'm sorry, perhaps in your motion it should be 32A instead of 37A. It should be the PWSC's procedures. Yes, I can amend this. Yes, please do so. In accordance with Rule 32A of the Rules of Procedures for PWSC, please read it again. In accordance with Rule 32A should be, of the PWSC procedures, I move and urge the administration to formulate various measures to ensure that the white dolphins living in the waters near Shakucha will not be affected by the works before building the incinerator. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 12 present, 4 for, 7 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by majority of members voted. This motion is negatived. Motion number 50. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Gary Fan's motion number 50, moved under Rule 32A of the PWSC procedures. Will those in favour please raise their hands? Chairman, I'm claiming division. I'll ring for 1 minute. In accordance with Rule 32A of the procedures for PWSC, I move and urge the administration to formulate various measures to ensure that the finest porpoise living in the waters near Shakucha will not be affected by the works before building the incinerator. So Mr. Gary Fan has corrected the motion. It's Rule 32A of the PWSC. There were mistakes with several others motions, like 46 previously. 45 was correct, 46 should be amended. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, remember please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 12 present, 4 for, 7 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by majority of members voted. The question is negatived. Motion number 51. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 51, moved under 32A. Chairman claims the division. 1 minute. Please read it out. As there are various natural resources in Shakucha, providing various habitats for wild animals, and as during the operation of the IWMF Phase 1, the emissions and ash emitted will directly affect the endangered species living on Shakucha Island, especially the living environment of Dibamus Bogadeki. This subcommittee urges the administration to, before starting the foundation works, engage an independent consultant to assess the relevant facilities and the impact on the endangered species before starting the works. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, remember please check your vote. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 12 present, 4 for, 7 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by majority of members voted. The motion is negatived. Motion 52. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 52, moved under Rule 32A of the PWSC. For those in favour, please raise your hand. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, I move that as there are birds' nests for white-bellied sea eagles on Shakucha Island, although the administration has proposed to adopt some relief measures or alleviating measures during the works of the IWMF Phase 1 to minimize the nuisance to white-bellied sea eagle, but according to past record, after the completion of Disneyland in Hong Kong, the white-bellied sea eagle disappeared from Penny's Bay. This subcommittee therefore urges the administration to, before starting the foundation works of IDBMF Phase 1, engage an independent consultant to carefully assess the impact on white-bellied sea eagle before starting the relevant works. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, would members please check your votes? Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 11 present, for, 6 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members who have voted. The question is negatived. Next, motion number 53. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 53, moved under Rule 32A of the PWSC. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, as on completion of this project, a substantial amount of dioxin and PM2.5 and other pollutants will be emitted, although the administration has emphasized that the chimney of this incinerator is as high as 160 meters and that pollutants would be carried away by the wind, but there hasn't been any detailed assessment whether without wind, whether pollutants would fall and aggregate on Shakucha Island. The subcommittee therefore urges the administration to, before starting the relevant works, should assess, have a detailed expert assessment report on the PM 2.5 generated by the IDBMF Phase 1 without wind before starting the relevant work. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, members please check your votes. Voting is closed. Result is displayed. 11 present, 3 for, 7 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members who have voted. The motion is negatived. Motion 54. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 54, moved under Rule 32A of the PWSC. Chairman, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. Chairman, please read it out. As this project will cause pollutants to be emitted, including dioxin and PM2.5, this subcommittee urges the administration to, before commencing the relevant works, set up a monitoring organization with statutory powers, so that when the emissions from the IDBMF Phase 1 exceeds the levels, or that the air quality exceeds the level, there is the power to immediately stop the operation of the IDBMF before starting Phase 1 of the project. Voting begins. Before I announce the voting result, please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 12 present, 3 for, 8 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by a majority of members who have voted. Motion number 55. This subcommittee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion number 55, moved under Rule 32A of the PWSC procedures. Mr. Gary Van, I claim a division. The bell will ring for 1 minute. All right, Chairman, please read it out. On completion of this project, pollutants, including dioxin and PM2.5, will be emitted, harming the health of the residents living nearby. This subcommittee therefore urges the administration to, before commencing the relevant works, must set up, well, Chairman, that should be a medical system or healthcare system and compensation system. There's a typo here. It should be system to ensure that after commissioning of the IWMF Phase 1, if residents nearby, in particular expectant mothers and babies, encounter physical health problems because of taking in the emissions from the IWMF, there will be timely medical treatment and suitable compensation. Voting begins. Before I announce the result, members, please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 12 present, 4 7 against, none abstained. The question is not agreed by the majority of members who have voted. The question is negatived. Motion 56, I agree to, this committee agrees to handle Mr. Albert Chan's motion 56 moved under Rule 32A. Mr. Gary Fan, I claim a division. The bell ring for 1 minute.
Yes, please read out the motion. Yes, Chairman. I move the motion that since the operation of the project will emits very poisonous ash and furnace ash. The ash will be absorbed by the marine animals. This subcommittee urged the administration to formulate a testing mechanism to make sure that humans will not consume seafood that have been contaminated by bottom ash and flying ash. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check the vote. Voting is closed. 14 present, 4 for, 13 against. The question is negatived. This council agrees to deal with motion moved by Mr. Albert Chan under 32A. I claim for a division. Chairman, in view of the fact that the project will lead to a lot of sea traffic with barges transporting sand and fill materials. And also during the operation phase, there will be vessels transporting solid waste and also bottom ash passing through the waters. They will cause a lot of noise nuisance and sewage and even oil slicks, which will affect the Venus porpoise. The subcommittee urged the administration must pass a law and regulate the transport of construction materials, workers, and bottom ash and solid waste. And the noise emitter should not be more than 70 decibels, and the water should not. There will be no dirty water pass into the water. Please check your votes before I declare the result. Voting is closed. Voting is closed. Please display the result. Members, the majority of members are against the motion. Declare the motion negative. This council agrees agrees to handle the motion 58. Yes, I claim a division. Chairman, this is similar. Now, this committee asked the administration before commencing the project must pass a law to require the vessels that transport workers, solid waste, and ash be equipped with radar facilities to make sure that these vessels will not collide with other vessels, causing unnecessary death and injury. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Voting closed. Results displayed. 12 members present, 3 for, 8 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by majority of members who voted. I declare the motion negatived. Number 59, this council agrees to deal with Mr. Albert Chen's number 59 motion move under Rule 32A. Those in favor, please raise your hands. You claim a division? No. Point of procedure. A point of order. No, usually the secretary does inform us the meeting time. I do not see that there is such a notice, whether it's in writing or in the computer. Yes, there is. Yes, it's in the notice. Until 1:15. Point of order. Can you give us 10 to 15 minutes for toilet break? The call of nature, Mr. Chairman. Yes, with a break of 5 minutes after this motion. I claim a division. Okay, a division, please. The bell. Chairman, since the project is to deal with all solid waste, rather, it cannot deal with all solid waste. The subcommittee urged the administration, before commencing this project, should build recycling points at all refuse collection points to make sure that waste have been properly sorted so that unsorted solid waste will not be sent for incineration. After building recycling points, the first phase of the project may go ahead. Voting begins. Before I declare the result, please check your vote. Okay, voting is closed. The result is displayed. 11 present, 3 for, 7 against, no abstention. The question is not agreed by a majority of members who voted. The motion is negative with a break for 5 minutes.